Hello and welcome to Stop Scheduling with Excel. Simplify your experience with shifts in Microsoft Teams. My name is Nathan Austin. I'll be presenting the content today, and producing behind the scenes is Stephanie Kingsley. We are very excited for you to either be watching live or to the recording after the fact. There's not a lot of organizations that are still scheduling with Excel. It depends on different departments you might have or different roles, or the size of your organization or type of organization, but we've found enough that we've encountered over the years of working with different entities where some people are still scheduling either hourly folks or some split shifts in Excel. And we realize that there's an opportunity to simplify their experience. And so that's where we're bringing the content to you today. So thanks for joining or watching. Moving to some quick takes, I always like to cover a few things that we're going to cover today that you're going to get out of the session. We're going to show you how to build the similar schedule to what you're managing in Excel, or maybe you're using an Outlook calendar to build it. We're going to show you how to build that into Shifts. And Shifts is an application that's actually embedded inside of Teams. So we'll get into that a little bit later. One of the nice things about Shifts is you'll learn how to enable team members to request shifts, swap shifts, request time off, and all of it is basically approval based. And then once the approval is made, is done in real time. It's very slick as opposed to like scratch off or edit an Excel spreadsheet. And finally, really how Teams and Shifts work together. And that's not just the Teams application on the desktop, it's also the mobile as well as the browser, all work very similarly and work pretty well. So those are the quick takes you're going to take out of today's session. And so I'm excited to dig in. Again, stop scheduling in Excel. Again, part of it is you might be also scheduling in Outlook, but really it's trying to take, and I'm going to try and run through a scenario that probably affects a lot of organizations. Maybe it doesn't make sense for you to use shifts to solve the problem, but I'm at least going to use an example in our demonstration today that'll hopefully show you how this might be a problem that shifts could help you solve, even if you don't realize you might have this problem, because I think a lot of people do, but how it might expand into other areas depending on how certain managers or departments need to manage time and scheduling for their team. So we're gonna show you how to solve some of those problems. We're gonna talk through some of the most common problems that we've heard from clients. And I can tell you, back in the day when I was a manager of a restaurant, I used Excel to manage my shifts, and I wish I had something like this. It would have made it so much easier for me as a manager to navigate and manage scheduling. Finally, we're going to go through a demonstration. We're going to, again, talk about some of the key problems, and then we're going to demonstrate some of the ways in which Shifts within Teams can help you solve those problems. And we're not saying Shifts is the perfect application. None of these things are, but if it's if any of these problems that we're going to talk about today resonate with you, or you might have a certain area of your business that this might help, we're hoping that this gives you an answer to simplify your experience for not only you as a manager, but also your team members. And finally, open it up for some Q&A and next steps. All right, before we move on, I always like to say, take just 1 minute about my tech. We are not a training company. We are a business and technology consulting organization that works with small and medium businesses. We have learned over the last 21 years of being in business that we have a proven IT strategy that we know delivers consistent and reliable results for our clients, because ultimately our clients are trying to run their business, and we know that IT problems prevent them from doing so. So we try and remove those IT challenges and really help them focus on serving their clients better and being more adaptable to business challenges that we all inevitably face. Working together, our clients achieve 4 times more value and productivity from their IT investments. We love to see them realize those benefits. If you'd like to hear more about that and how that might affect your organization, raise your hand. We'd love to have a conversation, but we also know that's not why you're here today. So let's move on to the rest of the content. All right. Common problems managing a schedule. And again, many department managers, if you have your fixed schedule of Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, some of these problems don't apply to you. I'll just be upfront and candid about that. But if you have hourly team members, if you don't have some sort of a system that allows you to track PTO requests, if you don't have a time clock but you want one for managing some of these, that might be one of the problems. But really, and some people we found have an on-call rotation, or some people have different staggered shifts, and trying to make sure that they're staffing that and keeping track of that. Those are some of the examples that we've seen managing that some department managers have with clients and companies we've worked with that shifts might be able to help. So here's some of the key problems. For example, keeping track of different shifts, whether it be in Excel or Outlook, who's responsible for what, when a change happens, making sure that when you track time off requests, do you have visibility to it? I know some payroll systems, you might be able to submit a PTO request and get it approved, but then it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And unless that, excuse me, sorry about that. And unless that person has noted it on their calendar, you might completely miss that they're not available for a shift that you think they're going to be able to take. So being able to not only track the time off request, but being able to have that visible to you as a manager as you're trying to assign and maneuver shifts or schedules. Team member ability to request changes. What I mean by that is what's the process? Do you get an email from someone, hey, I can't make this shift? Well, how can you enable the team member to fill their own shift, to submit a request to other team members to fill their shift? And then possibly having manager approval of that, because maybe you have certain shifts that require different skill sets, and the person with whom a team member is trying to swap that shift doesn't have the skill set to do it, so you can't approve that. You can't allow that to happen. So anyway, those are some of the things that you can automate, some of the common problems I know that I used to have of keeping track of, then if that did get approved, making sure that I remember then to go back and make the change for the visible schedule for everyone, all the above, and just keeping track of all that. Again, shared visibility in real time to those changes, not only what the schedule is, but any of those changes, whether it be swaps or time off requests, et cetera. And then if you need it, whether or not you want time tracking for hourly team members, tracking breaks, clock in and clock out, mobile clock in and clock out, there's some of the capabilities you can enable if that's something that's a problem you're trying to solve. And then mobile access is one of the other ones. Does your team have to log into their computer, maybe pull up an Excel spreadsheet, look at the Outlook calendar, or is it something that they can just pull up on their mobile device to be able to look at the schedule and calendar and or make changes if need be? So those are some of the common problems we found and we've heard from clients relative to managing a schedule and some of the challenges that a manager has, because part of this simplifying the experience isn't just it's not just for the team members, but this is helping that, but it's also hopefully to help take some of the burden off the manager of the things that they have to remember, because a lot of this can be automated and with the approval processes in place, once the manager approves, well, then the change gets implemented, so they don't have to take any additional steps to share that visibility with the rest of the team. So hopefully it takes some burden off not only the manager that's trying to coordinate all of this, but also the team members that, you know what, let's face it, life happens and changes need to be made inside of the time when a schedule is created and set. So those are some of the common problems. There might be others. And again, not all this is going to apply to everyone. This is one of those solutions that not every business we talk to has this problem where this is going to be a solution that they're going to need. But hopefully we can walk you through some of the demonstration of how this can help your business if some of these problems exist for you or for department managers. So what I'm going to do, excuse me, I still have a little bit of a lingering cough from last month. I'm going to build out a schedule. So the scenario that I'd like you to think about, because I try to think of something that might apply to most of the organizations we work with. So do you have what about lunch coverage for front desk or like a reception or something like that, where, because, you know, people do have to take breaks. And if you want to have your front desk or your reception covered, what about building out a schedule to allow you to manage who's covering lunch on the respective days? So I want to give you an example. Again, that's a simple example. This can get really complex. You can add other locations, because I know one of our clients is responsible for managing some like reception across multiple locations and then covering for breaks that way. So there's things you can add there, but I'm just going to cover a simple example. So, and an example like that is something where I want to have nearly anyone in our organization, in the demo organization that I'm going to show you here, to have visibility to it, because if they know who's supposed to be covering and being able to maybe pull from the different resources of the organization. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to use our all company team that we've created in our demo environment. And what I'm going to do is that, notice I have shifts down here, but most of you won't see it right here. In fact, I'm going to unpin it just to give you an example of what you would see. Shifts is on this, all the way on this left-hand column in your Teams application. And again, this isn't an application that, a lot of applications, if you go to office.com and you click on all applications, you know, all of the applications to which you're licensed are listed in alphabetical order, not Shifts. Shifts is embedded inside of Teams. Don't ask me why, I'm not sure. That wasn't my decision. However, this is the way you can find it. So in this left-hand column here, you'll see the breadcrumbs that we call them here at the bottom. If you click on that, this will pull up some different applications that you have. So shifts is one of those applications. So I'll click on that. Excuse me. Now, what's going to ask me to do is pick a certain team. I've created several different schedules here for examples, but I'm actually going to create a new schedule. So for instance, it gives me the opportunity to click one of the schedules I want to look at. And all of these, by the way, as a little public service announcement, are connected to a team inside of Teams. And the associated members and owners of that team. So when you create a schedule, if you think about the construct of teams, like if you have a sales department or a finance department or a marketing department, et cetera, those respective teams, you can build schedules and give them visibility to the team. Same construct as if you're sharing posts or files, et cetera, inside of that team environment. So for the purpose of this session, I'm going to create a new schedule to show you what it's like to do from scratch. So you can click on shifts. Again, hit the breadcrumbs, click on shifts, and then I'm going to create a new schedule. Now it's going to ask me under what team, as I mentioned, under what team do I want to create this schedule? So these are all the different teams. The other thing that's a little public service announcement is you need to be an owner of the team in order to create a new schedule. That also applies to adjusting the schedule and approving requests. We'll get to that in a minute. So I'm actually going to create one, as I mentioned, in the all company site because I want everyone to have visibility to this. It's going to ask you a couple questions like confirming the time zone, what the local time. We are in Central Time in the closest city. Chicago is the closest city. If in Minnesota, for Colorado, I'd have to choose a different one. For the sake of this information, I'm going to use the Central Time Zone. I'm going to hit confirm. So now it's creating the schedule, and this is going to give me the blank slate of the schedule. So what I'm going to do first and foremost, I want to you don't have to do this first, but I'm going to do it first. So I'm going to rename the group. I'm just call this, lunch coverage for front desk. I'm just going to call it that. All right. Okay. So I chose this not only because I think it's something that a lot of organizations might have to do and solve, as well as it's relatively simple. It's one shift a day. So as I'm about ready, I'm going to start creating some shifts here, but I want to actually illustrate really quick this settings tab that as an owner you will see. If you're an owner of a team or manager of a team, you will see this stuff. This is where the time zone is set. What's the start of the week? I actually want to start the week on Monday. You can start it on Sunday if you'd like. I just want to start it on Monday because I feel that's that for this purpose, it's just Monday through Friday. If I want to copy shifts, because you'll see an example, is that I'm going to use the copy shift function. You can turn on the activities or subsets you can do. And then I also allow employees on this team to view and request open shifts on the schedule. I like to turn that on because I think it enables and it empowers the team to be able to help me as a manager schedule. The other thing that this is where you can set some customization is if you're allowing people, if people are requesting time off to put on this schedule, you can customize the options that you want to make available to them. I mean, maybe you could just simplify this down to PTO, or you might just be able to say there may be some unpaid. So you can choose and customize any of these things. I'm just going to leave the standards, but if you hover over them, this is where actually you could delete them. And if you want to add a custom one, you just click here and it'll add a custom one. And then down here, I'm not going to turn this on now, but if you want to use time clock, then this is where you can begin the setup, and it allows your team members to then use the shifts application to clock in and clock out. All right, so this is just one of the places to find that. I'm going to go back to the schedule here. Okay, so now what I want to do is we're starting on Monday the 6th. I'm just going to go into next week just to make it something simple. So I'm going to come up here. What I'm going to do is if you hover over it, notice these breadcrumbs appear, right? So I'm going to click on the breadcrumbs and hit add an open shift. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually defining, as a manager, I'm defining the shifts that I want to make available or I want to assign to my team. So I can define, 8 to 5. And then notice and put a break in here, right? So if I was doing this 8 to 5 like it's defaults to, I can put a 60-minute break. So that might be something. But if I was using this to schedule the front desk coverage, but I'm actually just trying to focus on the lunch coverage for the front desk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to only have one slot because I only have one, hypothetically speaking, in this scenario, one front desk to cover. Now, if I had multiple locations, I might choose 2 slots. But I'm going to basically say this is only from, and I'm just going to be very generic here. I'm going to scroll down and say noon to 1 o'clock because I'm just covering 1 hour of lunch. Okay, just clicking that. I'm going to say there's no unpaid break because this is basically covering a break. So this shift is to manage and share who is covering for the front desk during lunch. Okay. Now what I could do is I could start adding activities. Remember when I went to the settings tab, it said, do you want to, when you copy a shift, you want to copy the activities? Well, this is where I could define, hey, between 12 and 1, what I want you to do is go through the mail or something like that. I could define activities that I want this to do, excuse me. Go through the mail or hey, could you whatever, the double check that we have enough batteries in stock or something like that. You could choose different activities that you want to do. I'm not going to do that for today, but this is where you could define some of those activities that you'd want the respective shift to cover. So now I'm basically creating an open shift, and I'm going to click save. So I've got so now I've created one shift. And if you notice, there's a little kind of asterisk here. And now this popped up over here, which is share with the team. One of the things that I think Shifts does a good job of is that I can create the schedule, make all kinds of adjustments to it before I give visibility to anybody on my team. So that's one of the things that I think is really valuable, is that I'm not doing this necessarily in a production environment because I'm not allowing my team to see it, and then they're wondering, hey, what's going on? Or people might be requesting shifts before I really want them to. So this is a way where we can build out a schedule and even assign the schedule before you share it with the team. So that's what I wanted to kind of illustrate here. So now what I want to be able to do, I'm just going to hit copy and hit here and paste, copy and paste again. So I'm just going to paste these really easy, just a few clicks. Now these are all, I've created an open shift for the front desk lunch coverage. Now I'm not scheduling Saturday and Sunday, hypothetically speaking for this scenario, we are not open Saturday and Sunday. The other thing, I don't know if there's a way to like take a whole week and copy it. I'm not even sure. Or if I can copy the schedule. Yeah, here we are. So I can, forgive me. So you can take this copy and I can say copy schedule. Now that I built out the week, I can actually say, all right, I want to take the week from 12/13 to 12/19, and I want to copy it to the next week of the 20th, right? Copy one time, copy. So with a couple of clicks now, I was able to replicate the schedule. So I didn't go into the next week, but I'm going to click into the next week, and now I have I've copied the whole week shift. So you can build out an ideal week. And then you can copy that, and you could choose the dates from which you want to copy from the dates you want to copy to the dates you want to copy. So again, it makes it relatively easy once you've built out kind of your open shifts template. Again, for this session, I chose a very simple one. Excuse me. I showed a very simple example. One of the things I also want to show you now, before I share this to the team, before I do anything else, I'm going to pull up my web browser, and I actually am logged into this as a different team member. And I'm going to go to their shifts application here, and notice they don't see while they're a member of this team. So if I go to Teams, if I go to the All 365 site, I'll go to Manage Team just to give you an illustration. I'm logged in as team member. Very creative, called it team member. So I'm logged in as a person here who is a member of the team. So if you note, I was just creating a schedule inside of the All MTP 365 team, and this team member is a member of that team. But when we go to their shifts and we look at this is what the shifts they have access to. Oh, this just popped up. So they do now see this new shift that I scheduled in the All MTP 365, but they don't see anything, even though in Teams I've started building out the structure. But because I haven't shared it with the team and I haven't added members to the team, the team member doesn't see the schedule. So I'm just giving you an example of how when you can start using this and building this out, and it doesn't affect what your team can actually see until you're ready for them to see it. So I wanted to illustrate that point really quick. All right, so going back to the schedule. Now what I want to do is I want to add team members to the schedule who may be available to be scheduled. So I'm going to add people, and this is only going to pull, notice it says add members. You can add members and owners of the All MTP 365 team to the group, and owners can update the schedule. So as I mentioned, team member here is not an owner, they're a member. So I'm going to add team member. I'm actually going to also add Stephanie's behind the scenes, so she's going to help me with some of the illustrations of these variables here. So I'm going to add Stephanie, and I'll just add JF. I'll add JF to this equation. So that's enough to illustrate what we're going to do. So I just went up here, I clicked add people, and I can add, again, I can only add members that are a member or owner of the team. So if this team in our demo environment is everyone of this organization, but if I just had a subset of the marketing team or the IT team or the sales team, et cetera, I would only see members that are members of the actual team. So that's how shifts, one of the ways in which shifts and teams are connected. The other way in which it's connected is the owners of the team are basically considered managers and are ones that can adjust the schedule and can approve schedule changes. So that's how the permission set inside of teams allows you to connect with how you manage a shift. All right, so now what I want to be able to, again, I haven't shared this with the team yet. All I've done is build out the available shifts, all right? So now what I want to do is I know that I'm going to assign a couple of these. So as a manager, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on this, hover over it, hit the breadcrumbs, and notice how it says it gives me the option of assigning an open shift. So I'm going to hit assign. I'm going to assign this to team member. Again, still not shared with the team, right? So it's still not shared. So team member does not see this and will not see it if they log in. I'm going to assign this one to Stephanie. And I'm going to assign this one. I'm going to leave one available. I'm going to assign this one to team member, and I assign this one to Stephanie. Again, I'm just choosing random order at random, but I wanted to assign both and leave one yet open to illustrate some of the capabilities. So now that I've assigned some of these things, I actually want to share it with the team. So I'm going to come up here, click share with the team. And it gives me the opportunity of like, well, what do I want to share? Which week do I want to share? So it looks like the week that I assigned was the week of the 20th up here, if you see that. So this is actually the week that I want to share. Actually, I'll just go the whole thing. So I'm going to share. So I'm going to share, even though I didn't assign any of the shifts in the week of the 13th, I did assign some of the shifts in the week of the 20th. I'm going to share both weeks. And the other thing that says your entire team or affected team members only. I'm just going to go ahead and choose entire team for this purpose. So I want everyone to see it. No, there'll be a little thing that scrolls across. Your schedule has been successfully shared. Notice the share with team button's grayed out, and notice the asterisks on these shifts are now removed. So I'm going to now move over to team member, because as I showed you earlier, team member did not see some of these. And before I do that, I want to give it a little bit of chance to sync here. But the other thing that I want to show is that this is where a team member, so I'm going to go in here and make requests. I can choose to make different requests, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then the other thing is, as a team member, so for instance, what I want Stephanie to be able to do is, Stephanie, if you could go into the week of the 13th and request one or more of these shifts that are open, that are still open. So one of the things by leaving these shifts open is that you can actually allow your team to say, hey, go and find the shifts that are available and request them if you want to request them. Maybe it gives you a little overtime, or maybe it gives them extra coverage or whatever. They also can then request to swap shifts. So that's something that I'll illustrate here with the team member. So I'm going to pull up the web browser again. And now notice I'm logged in as team member here, whereas in Teams, just to illustrate, I'm logged in as myself as the manager here. So I'm going to pull it. So at the web browser. So now, if you notice, when I click on the All M365 team, before I didn't see anything, but now that I've shared it with the team, I see it, and I see that Stephanie looks like she's requested this shift because now this one is now gone. But I'm going to go to next week where I did assign some of them. So now I only see the shifts that I'm assigned, and I see the open shift that's here. The other thing, so I'm going to give you an example of a view. So as a team member, if I just want to look at my shift, that's the default view. But I can also come up here and say, I actually want to look at the team shifts. So if I click on here, I'm looking at the same week, but I can see that Stephanie has these shifts here. So what I want to do, illustrate a couple features, is I want to say, hey, I want to take this shift too. So as a team member, I can come in here and notice when I hover over it, I don't get the breadcrumbs, because as a member of the team, I can't edit the shift. I can only request changes to the shift, but I don't get to see the breadcrumbs. So as a member, I'm going to click on this, and it gives me the option to request. and it gives me some details. It's December 22nd, noon to 1, is to manage who's covering lunch for the front desk, and there's no break time in here. So I'm going to request that. So now that's requested. The other thing I'm going to do is like, gosh, to illustrate a point, I would love the 24th, but I really need the 23rd off. So what I want to do is I'm going to click on this shift and I want to say swap. I can offer it by just saying, here, take my shift, or I can swap. So I'm going to come in here and swap, and I'm going to say swap this shift, with the shift on the 24th, Stephanie's shift, and I'll say, please swap shifts with me. Now that's going to send a request to Stephanie. Click that send request. So now when I'm, as I notice, I'm logged in as team member. I'm going to change my view back to all team shifts. I requested this shift and I requested to swap these shifts. And where I can see that is up here in my requests. So I can see that the team requested a swap. So this is the swap that I requested. And here's where I requested a shift. And notice it's saying pending final approval on both of them, pending Stephanie's response. So this gives me visibility as a team member to seeing schedules, seeing the adjustments, and gosh, we're running out of time quickly. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back as a manager and let you see what I see. So when I come in here as a manager, I can look at requests. And so when I look at request, I see a shift request approved. Here, I'm going to click and click back and forth again really quick. I'm going to see shift request approved. And so Stephanie, it looks like she approved. Did you approve that, Stephanie, or how did I do that? This is completed.
Yeah, I approved it.
Oh, so you approved it for yourself. Great. So and then do you see under your requests the swap shift request?
Sorry, that's the one I approved. Yep.
Oh, that's the one you approved. Okay. I was trying to show the manager approval, and that's weird. I wonder if it's still listing you as a manager of that team. I need to look here really quick. Sorry about this, everybody. I was trying to illustrate. Nope. Oh, that's why you're listed as an owner. That's why I did it, because Stephanie's listed as an owner. Sorry, I thought I had changed that. Stephanie, when Stephanie approved this request, it automatically did the manager approval too. So let me actually, Stephanie, I don't know if I can change this on the fly, but I'm going to try and remove you from being an owner of this team. I thought I did that when I was testing this stuff. So now Stephanie should be a member of this team, not an owner of the team. So Stephanie, do you see in your shifts, do you see a request that is the swap request from team member?
Yes.
Can you, and so it should be waiting on your request. Can you approve that request?
I accepted. It had it approved and now it asked me to accept it.
Okay, so yes, so it asked you to approve. Now it's asking you to accept. So can you accept that?
I did. Okay,
great. So what and did you just now do that?
Yep.
Okay, so here in a second, it should, please, I'm hoping, demo is when I click back to request, I should get a request as a manager, in theory. So notice Stephanie approved this. I'm gonna go to next week. And so this request was approved, and this is the shifts that we're trying to swap, right? So we're trying to get this one here. All right, so
I think it might have already swapped it because I was a manager. So maybe if you try it again.
Oh, maybe that's it. So let's try this again. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to hit swap. Shoot, this is what I need to do. Sorry, in the web browser. Oh, it did already swap that. Okay, so hold on. I'm going to do team shifts. So I want to try and swap these two here. Yeah, it already did swap it. So let's try this again. Sorry about that. For some reason it was because I didn't realize I had Stephanie still as a manager. So I'm going to swap this shift on the 20th for Stephanie's shift on the 21st, and I'll hit send request. So now Stephanie's getting a request, and notice it's these completed. Stephanie approved the swap and shift request approved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my manager approval, and so once Stephanie accepts that swap, she could also decline it, by the way, and then I wouldn't even see it. But when those requests come in, I should be able to click on request and notice, yeah, I think it still is showing that you've as a manager accepted and approved. So it probably hasn't synced up that you were removed from an owner that quickly. But yeah, it's showing that, or you haven't logged in and logged out of Teams. So so that you accepted and approved. So that's one of the things that'll kick a manager to approval. So this is one of the things I wanted to illustrate is that you this is how teams and shifts work together. If they're an owner of a team, they can approve shift changes as a manager. Basically, that puts them into the manager seat. If they're a member of the team, they can't. They can only accept or reject a swap, but they can't approve it, or they can't approve offering shifts or those kind of things. A manager has to do it. So this is some of the ways to do that. But once that's approved, and again, the beautiful thing is that's approved, is that the schedule automatically gets adjusted, and it should show that Stephanie's approved that, and so the swaps ended up happening. The swaps ended up changing. The other thing you can request is a PTO request. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to show a PTO request. I'm going to come in here. I'm logged in as team member. So I'm going to say I want to look for time off. I don't want to work on the 23rd. Reason is vacation, let's say. And I could put some notes, but I'm just going to, for the sake of this purpose, I'm just going to send request. Now, also, if I just want to take a half day, I could just unswap this all day and choose the time. Maybe I only want to take the afternoon off or something like that. So I could choose that, or I could just say all day. Hit send request. Now, that request should come. So there's a request there. As a manager now, I'm going to come in here and look at my requests. And here's the team request. Okay, here's that team requested swap that Stephanie had, so that she did accept it. Excuse me. There's a little bit of a delay in the sync by about a minute or two, and this is where I get approved that. So as a manager, I can say approved. That's that one, and then that PTO request will be coming in here shortly as well. In theory, it's just taking a little extra second. So now those shifts have been swapped here. Looks like it's delaying just by a minute or two from those requests, but it's near real time to say that this just happened and I was able to approve it. So it gives you some completed requests. But again, here's that request time off just popped in. So now as a manager, I can either deny or approve that request because a team member requested December 23rd all day, and then I can approve that. Once I approve that, if I go to the schedule, notice it pops in vacation all day, so I'm able to see that. The other thing that it'll do is if I happen to approve this PTO request and there was a shift conflict, it would show me the shift conflict. That's one of the things that it does for you automatically as well. So that's really a high level of being able to create a shift, assign shifts, swap shift, request changes, approve changes. Really wanted to show you because now you basically are digitizing your Excel spreadsheet into or taking an Excel spreadsheet and basically building workflow and approval process by converting that into using shifts. So I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint presentation and really kind of hit a little bit of a summary here. Really simplifying, if you're using Excel or Outlook to manage your schedule, try shifts. I'm not saying it's going to be the end all be all answer, but I think because of the workflow and the automation, the approval processes that are automatically built in, it can really simplify your experience if it's a good fit for you. It can empower your team to request shifts, swap shifts, offer shifts up, all without you having to intercede, but you do as a manager get approval to be able to make those happen or not. Time off requests, automatically tracked and logged. So you saw that they can request it, you can approve, deny it. As soon as you do that, it shows up on the calendar appropriately. And in, I would say real time, I would make it near real time because it's within a minute or two of those requests, either making a request or approving a request. It changes the schedule automatically after the manager approval. And so now you're sharing real-time visibility to the calendar as opposed to approving it and then having to go make a secondary change to remember to update the schedule accordingly. And the other thing is, I didn't show this in today's session, but you can find shifts in the Teams mobile app in a similar way. It's in the breadcrumbs. You click on it, the other apps, and you can pull up shifts, and you can do you can see the schedule, you can look at the team schedule, your individual schedule, and you can request time off and request offer or swap shifts all in the mobile app as well, which makes it really easy for your team to engage as opposed to having to log into their laptop. Or maybe you have people in your organization that don't have laptops, and so the mobile device really works well in order to be able to enable and empower your team relative to schedules. All right, so thank you very much for joining us today. Please follow us on LinkedIn or subscribe to our YouTube channel where we publish these events and the recordings. If there's anyone, maybe this didn't impact you, but if you know folks that are struggling to manage a schedule with Excel or Outlook, this is a great tool that I found that helps solve some of those problems. It makes it much easier, not only for the managers, but also easier for the team members that are on that team. Join us for future events, mytech.com/events. We have published one event into January, and we've got Q1 that'll be published here shortly. And also, if you have some more technical folks in your team, join us for our Power User Group sessions. We host those every other month, and our next one is going to be the end of January, where we go in a little bit deeper to the technical nuances of Microsoft 365. So I look forward to seeing you there. Finally, thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate anyone who is watching live, who are watching the recording, for sticking around with us, even though I ran a little long. And for those of you who are dropping off, thank you so much. And otherwise, Stephanie, let's open it up for questions.
Awesome, thanks, Nate. Someone had asked if you were going to be showing, I wasn't sure if you were going to, how to import from Excel. I did attach a document to that comment about the templates for that, but I don't know if you have any tips or tricks. Or...
Yes. You know, I appreciate that's actually, I had to find and kind of made some notes of some extra content that I was going to show if there weren't any questions. That was one of them. So here's what I'd like to show is that you can, so I'm making sure I'm logged as a manager. If you click, I believe it's up here on the breadcrumbs. Yeah, this is where you can export or import a schedule. So if you want to import a schedule, so again, if you're in, you have to be an owner of a team to be able to create a schedule. If you do, you can come up here and in the breadcrumbs in the upper right-hand corner, you can import schedule. Now, what it does is it gives you a sample to basically the structure and the parameters to be able to upload a schedule. So if you can take your schedule and modify it into this format. So I just click download. So I'm going to open it up here. It's going to open an Excel spreadsheet for me. That now it gives you some instructions. And this literally, I just downloaded this. This isn't prepared. And then it says, here are the shifts. And so team member, so keep it, one of the instructions, it says, do not, as a guide, but don't change. It says something like, don't change the headers. So if you come in here, use these headers, right, as kind of the foundation, and this is the way in which you can break out an import. So if you can modify, if you have an Excel spreadsheet that is a schedule today, if you can modify it to something like this, this is how you can upload and import a schedule. Now there'll be a little massaging, if you will, of what needs to happen, but that's how. And then you can. This is the same place where you can then come in and say, import schedule, upload file, and build a shift. Now I didn't test that. Gosh, excuse me, I forgot to bring some water with me here. But this is where you can download a template to be able to massage whatever existing schedule you have into that format, and then you can come back and hit upload file to hopefully build out your schedule. The other thing is that you might consider, if sometimes that might be difficult depending on the complexity of your schedule, is building out like an ideal week. So if you can build out an ideal week as a template, and then you can use the copy schedule function to copy it to other weeks, if that's something that might be feasible for you as well.
Awesome.
Great question.
Next one here is, can you set specific groups that are allowed to request shifts? For example, if we want a shift to only be viewable to an employee group with certain certification?
I believe so. So let me, where do you do this? Here it is. No, rename group. Forgive me, I'm trying to remember where to do that. Oh, add group, here it is, I'm sorry. So yes, so what I understand is that, so I'm gonna do this live, so bear with me here. From what I understand, if you wanna give, like these are the people that are available for lunch coverage for the front desk. Again, let's say hypothetically speaking that the other expertise that you're looking for is to cover full days of the front desk, even though that's not really a huge change of skill set per se from covering it for a little bit for the whole time. So I'm gonna hit add group. Now what I can do is have a different group is saying, I'll just rename it like front. I'll just say front desk. Save, and then what I can do is I can create my shifts for there, and then I can add different people to that, right? So I can say, well, I want department leader to add, and then I want standard user. These are the different ones that I've had to add. So now, notice I have, in theory, this could be one skill set and another skill set. And then when you create the shifts, the other thing you can do in the shifts is you can define some notes and or activities in the shift. So you can actually make sure that it's clear and not up for interpretation of what is expected if someone were to take the shift. So you can do that by defining inside of the shift and the activities of the shift what that is, or you can create different groups here and here and only add the respective people. You can add different people to the groups based on skill set or ability to cover or approval to cover the shifts that are defined. I think that answers the question, and the add group function is where you can do that.
Thanks, Nate. Another question here. Can external people like volunteers access the schedule and sign up, or can the organizer assign external folks?
What I read in researching this session, the answer today is no. This does not allow guest access. Now that might change in the future, but for now, they do require an account, an email address, a user in your tenant environment in order to do that. Now that would be the way around it, is instead of assigning a guest, it could be assigning them an email address, which but otherwise, no, you cannot assign guests or external folks to these schedules at the moment.
All right, last question that we have is, do you know if there's any integrations with existing payroll systems, for example, Paychex?
So I don't know the answer to that question. However, that was one of the other pieces of content that I wanted to show potentially is if I go to the settings and you want to say begin setup. So this is where you can come down and you can turn on the time clock function. What I didn't test is I'm going to pull up the web browser because I don't think, yeah, so notice, excuse me, I'm sorry, that the ability to clock in does not exist because I haven't turned it on. So this is the team member, right? So I'm logged in as the team member here in the web browser. They do not have the ability to clock in. However, if I come as a manager, I'm going to turn on, and I saw that you can include location detection, but it's a little weird because set the location you expect your team to clock in and out to from. So like you only have the option of entering a coordinate. It's a little weird. So I'm unchecking that because I don't think that's something that's really mature enough. But I basically just turned on time tracking and reporting. So now if I go back to the web browser, in theory, now the clock in button is available, which was not there a second ago. So this is where I can clock in or start a break. And then to give you an example of the data, I actually did clock in yesterday into a different team. So I'm going to go into a different team, excuse me, to internal IT. So internal IT, I actually did build in, oh, shoot, sorry. I'm in the team member. I need to be in the manager. I'm sorry. In the manager, I did build in the clock in capability, and why am I not? Oh, this that's weird. I'm not seeing. Oh, in settings, what I want to do is come down here and hit export. So I did actually define some clock ins, and I'm going to hit export, and it's going to pull up an Excel spreadsheet. And in theory, I think so. There's not any predefined definitions that I understand, but this is what it does from an export perspective. So what I did is I clocked in and clocked out, and clocked in and clocked out. It shows my shifts that were scheduled. I wasn't really paying attention to that, and I also did have a break start time. So I created a clock in, clock out time and a break start time. Now what I don't see, and this is a little weird, is why it shows unpaid versus paid hours. It doesn't even show any numbers there because I didn't clock into the shift. But this is what the export looks like. For the sake of whether or not the export's beneficial or not. Again, in theory, that's what my hope would be, is that the export that you can, from a time tracking perspective, can allow you to import that into a payroll system. I haven't played with that, and I would definitely test it before you turn on those expectations or start using this, so that you understand what the caveats or gotchas are. But there is the capability. But first and foremost, as a manager owner, you have to come into settings, you have to turn on time clock tracking, and then this is also the same place where you can export the time clock, or the data points.
All right, one more question popped in there. Once you create a schedule and shifts, can you share it with additional teams?
So if I understand the question correctly, once I've created this schedule, can I share it to other teams? I believe the answer to that question is no, because the schedule is tied to, and this is an example of where teams and shifts works together, it's tied to membership of a team. So if they are not a member, if I create a shift, a part of this team, it's tied to either the owners or members of this team, period. So I can't, unless if I want to add team members to be able to see the shift that's a part of this team, I have to add them to this team. So I think the answer is no, or add them to the team. Which is one of the reasons why when I created this schedule under the scenario, I put it into the all company team, because I wanted anyone to be able to potentially have visibility to it, even though they might not necessarily need to be assigned to a shift.
All right, another one popped in there. Is the request option required? Can you have it set up so that people can just sign up?
That sign up meaning
like take the shift, I think.
I don't, like auto approval or something like that. I don't know. I do know that what I showed here is what are the options that are available to the manager, meaning, or an owner of a team. There are other options that you can turn on and turn off, but that requires global admin access. So as an owner or manager, you cannot, but there are different settings you can turn on and turn off at the global admin level. You know, I do have an article, Microsoft posting. I should have copied that link when I was doing research, but I didn't, but I can find it again, that talks about that talks about here's the things you can do as a global admin if that's something you wanted to be able to do. I don't know if what you just described is possible or not, but I can tell you that if it is possible, it's a global admin setting, not a setting that you as a manager or an owner of a team can be able to set. But we'll send that article as part of the follow-up. I'll find that and make sure that we send it. And if hopefully it helps.
Awesome. I think that covers it.
All right. You know, I really appreciate all the questions. We weren't sure how many questions we were going to get for today, because we know that this is something that doesn't apply to every organization. But for the managers that do struggle with this, I really hope that this can be a benefit to you and truly simplify your experience using shifts in Microsoft Teams. Thank you so much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at a future event. Have a great day.